know is there was miners camped way up on top of the ridge. And I don't know, a year ago, I did a video where I found the old camp. We dug around there looking for old bottles and stuff. Found some real old stuff. It was definitely an 1860s site, but it was right on top of the ridge. And I didn't know which way they went to look for the gold. So on that trip, we hiked down one side and got down to a little creek and nothing. I couldn't find a fleck of gold, very little black sand. So I didn't get to it before the end of winter, before winter hit. But now that the snow's melted back and everything, I thought, well, I'm gonna go down the other ridge and see if there's anything down at the bottom of that. And that's where we are. Here's our creek. And this is the hill we just came down. Now, I don't know, the camera's showing it, but that is one steep hillside. Right now, I'm kind of tickled pink. This is a beautiful little creek here. Okay, now that we're here, first thing we got to do, well, first thing I'll give you a quick shot of the creek, but then we got to kind of look around and see if we can see signs of the old miners being here and take a look at the gravel. Now, there's not a whole lot of gravel here. This is a lot of really smooth bedrock. This is such a narrow canyon that I would imagine when the snow's melting, that thing's going along pretty good. Right now, it's a beautiful little creek. So I'll show you the creek, and then we'll do a little looking around, see if we can see any evidence of the old timers being in here. Okay, now this is a shot going downstream, and you can see that it's a pretty narrow canyon and it drops off pretty quickly. Well, looking upstream, it looks like it levels out a little bit. A lot of exposed bedrock in here. I'm really kicking myself for not bringing the metal detector. I probably won't be on the hike out because it's gonna be a steep hike out of here. But I mean, there is a lot of bedrock down here. What we're gonna do, a little looking around, see if we can find any evidence of them being in here. Now I think I'm gonna head upstream because that'll make my trip back to the truck easier. I can kind of side hill as I go up rather than coming straight down like I did. So right now, we're gonna do a little exploring, see if we can see any signs of the old timers being in here, see if we can find anything that tells us there's gold in this creek. Okay, I don't know how well this is showing us on the camera, but I just found right here, there's kind of a low spot in the bedrock here, and down in here is a chunk of iron. And this is a piece that's riveted. I have no idea what it was. It's worn pretty good, but this is a chunk of old metal, so that's a good sign that there was miners around here somewhere. Okay, let's keep looking. Actually, before we do that, I think I'm going to dig this gravel out right here and just do our first test pan, because we know the heavies are dropping here. Let's see if there's any sign of gold right here. Okay, now that we're in a spot that I don't know anything about, I always bring a green pan, a larger green pan, because we're not metal detecting today. We don't have a metal detector. We have to be able to see our black sands. We have to know if there's black sands in here. We have to know if they're fine or coarse, because if there is gold in this creek, you have no idea if it's coarse gold and very little of it, if it's fine gold, very little of it, or a lot of it. You just don't know. So the green pan shows the black sands better. So when I'm experimenting in a new area, I always use a green pan. Okay, I'm gonna dig this thing out. Let's take our first test pan and just see what what's happening here. The first thing, while I'm digging this out, the first thing you want to check is this gravel just laying here or is it packed? And the top is just laying here. And we got some, oh, that's from the piece of metal we pulled out. Okay, the rocks so far, these are local bedrock. This is all local bedrock. We do have a lot of fine quartz gravel. There is a hydraulic diggings up on top of the hill further upstream. Okay, now this gravel, I don't have a whole lot of hopes here because none of this gravel is packed. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just dig out some anyway and just see what we got in the way of black sands. The reason you wanna make sure you got a brush with you is I can clean this bedrock off and that will allow me to see, like right here, there's a little crack that's got gravel in it. So it'll allow me to see these little catches so I can dig them out. Yeah, this is a good little catch. Got rust in it. That's right underneath where that piece of iron was. But this is a real good spot to trap gold. Now, I probably wouldn't have seen it if I didn't have the brush. Okay, we got that cleaned out pretty good. Now, one thing I want to emphasize, in a new spot like this, you do not want to spend a lot of time on a crevice because your time down here is limited. So you want to look at as much of the creek as you can to get a good idea. If you only work, clean a dozen crevices in 10 feet of the creek, you may be in a bad spot and not find anything. So you want to make sure you really move around until you do find some gold. Then you can slow down and start working a little more thorough. Okay, I'm gonna go pan this. I'll be right back. Our first pan, no gold, but we found out some useful information. The gravel, there was a few stones in there that are not native, but it was mostly native. But the sands, once I got down to the bottom, was mainly just light blonde sand right into black sand. Very little in between. So panning's going to be easy because the localized gravel, at least in this spot, is really light with your black sands down on the bottom. And it did have a decent, for the small amount we had, it did have a decent amount of black sand. Okay, now I'm going to do a little hiking upstream. Well, first I'm going to do a little hiking downstream. Then I'm going to hike upstream, see if I can find a spot that looks a little better, and we'll do another test pan. We got us a spot right here. We got bedrock to help break the flow. We're on the inside of a little bend here. And then right here, we got a crevice in here. And the gravel's not packed real tight, but it's tighter than the gravel was in the last spot we tried. So I'm gonna dig this out. We'll give this one a quick try. Okay, now this is looking better. At the bottom of this, we have a small crevice with gravel packed in it. Now the one thing that's kind of worrying me is, now we haven't covered a whole lot of ground, but I haven't seen any evidence that the miners worked this creek. There's no hand-stacked rocks or anything, but being as narrow as it is, I don't know if they'd stay or not. So we got to keep an eye out for that kind of stuff to make sure that they were down in here. There was enough gold to get them in here to work this. Okay, we got that cleaned out. Got a spot right here, pan it out. Be right back. Well, this pan, we got a little bit of gold, a little more black sand, and looks like 3 pieces of gold. Not very big, but we got some gold. Let me show you. Okay, you can see right there, or hopefully you can, we got 4 little pieces. Well, now we know that there is gold in the creek. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hike downstream since I don't have any intentions of going that way, but while I'm here, I want to hike down there a ways, and I'm not taking anything with me. I'm just going to do an exploratory trip, see if it looks any better down there than it does here. And if not, then we're going to grab the, ow, I don't know what bit me, but it hurt. Then we're going to grab the gear and head on upstream. And now that crack that we worked was a really small crack. So what I'm looking for now is basically the same situation, inside of a turn, a nice crack, but I'm going to try to see if I can find something a little wider, something that can hold more gravel, see if we can pick up a little heavier gravel and a little more of it. Okay, I'll be back in a few. Well, that took a little longer than I'd planned. I went quite a ways downstream because it just kept looking good further on. Now, down there a ways, I did find in a gully, it looks like they stacked rocks in there, but it's really kind of hard to tell. But I didn't see anything down there that we don't have here. So I think at this point, I ate lunch too while I was at it. At this point, I think we're just going to head on upstream and see if we can find some nice crevices and just start working crevices. Okay, now we have us a spot right here where it's obvious the gravel's being shoved up in here. Now this is a little larger than, when you're in here exploring, this is a little larger than I should be tackling. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to clean this upper section. Looks like we have a nice sized crevice right here. So I'm going to try to clean this out, see if we got some packed gravel in there. If we do, then we're going to go for it. But normally, I wouldn't take on something this large because it's going to take too long. So, got to be quick. Let's go. Now, all this service stuff, not going to mess with. I have no idea if this is in the frame or not because it's just too bright out here, I can't see. But hopefully you can see we've got a crevice down here, and the bedrock in here is a little bit on the rough side, and we got packed gravel in here. So I'm going to pull this out, clean as much as I can, and see if we can turn up anything. Well, I'm here to tell you I spent way too much time on this crevice, but we did get our best pan yet. It's still not much of a pan, but this one has the most pieces we found yet. And something I've noticed is all this gold is kind of dirty. Let me show you. Okay, well, I'm going to clean this up with the snuffer bottle, and we're going to start moving again because day's going by quick. We've been hiking upstream quite a ways, but I found a spot here where it's widened out. Now, right up ahead of us, the creek's making a bit of a turn, so we're on the right side of the river, and we got some bedrock here. It's down low. It looks like we got a nice little crevice here. So this will give us an idea of the gold when the flow is diminished, because this is the first real wide spot we found. So you want to take a sample here in case all the gold is really fine. Well, in the areas we looked so far, it's been fairly narrow, so it may not even slow down in that area. So you want to sample all the different areas of the creek to get a good feel of it. So let's see if we got any fine stuff in here. Well, this pan tells us a lot about this creek. I have quite a bit of black sand, and I have a lot of really fine gold. So my guess is the majority of the gold in this creek is pretty fine. Let me show you. You can see here we've got a lot of real fine gold in this pan. Okay, right now I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to go the other side of the creek, do a pan, go up here a little bit. I'm going to do several pans in this area and see if that's what the creek is doing, or we just happen to hit one spot that it was accumulating in. Well, I've done 4 pans in this area. I did 2 over on this side, and I did 1 down here below us and 1 up above there, a little bit higher than the first pan. And I dumped everything when I panned it. I just dumped it into my 10-inch pan, and then I dumped everything back into here. So this is an accumulation of those 4 pans, and it pretty much right in line of our first pan. Let me show you. Okay, you can see all through here we've got really fine gold. Well, at this point, I'm going to guess that this is what this creek's going to produce. Now, I don't know if this is all the gold that's in this creek, or if this is gold that escaped their boxes and is accumulating in the creek. But I'm finding no lead. I've only found 2 little pieces of iron. Other than that 1 piece we found right at the beginning. So my guess is this is what this creek's going to produce. Now, if a guy could process a lot of gravel, you might find some gold. But panning and the little catches like this, you're going to have to work a lot to get a gram of gold. I don't know if we got enough to even weigh here. Okay, well, right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pack everything up. I'm going to head upstream a little more, see if we can find anything that looks better. If not, then I'm going to start side hilling it back towards the truck, because it's getting late and I got a long ways to go. Okay, well, if I find anything good, I'll turn the camera back on. If not, I'll see you back at the truck, or most probably back at the house. Tell you what, if I hadn't found a speck of gold, just the beauty of this country just is unbelievable to me. Be honest with you, if I hadn't found a fleck of gold, I would have had a perfect day. The hike out, when I was out in the full sun, it was a little bit warm, but we got these clouds starting to form, and a lot of the time I had a cloud over me, so it was a nice hike out. So at this point, I'm going to throw everything in the truck, and I'll see you back at the house. I got that gold cleaned up. It was tough. That's some really fine gold. Now, no idea if we got enough to make the scale move, but what do you say we jump over there and take a look? Okay, let's see if she's going to move. 0.12 grams. Well, I can't believe it, but it moved. Grant you, there wasn't much gold there. But I don't think that creek carried any large gold. I think originally it probably had quite a bit of really fine gold in it, because there was no gravel that I seen in the creek or on the hillside that would carry larger pieces. By larger, I mean something you could pick up with a metal detector. There was gravel all up that hillside, spread all over, but it was all that real small pea gravel, a lot of quartz. So I'm guessing there was quite a bit of gold in that creek when they originally worked it. Not so much anymore. Now I'm guessing we're probably not going to go back up there looking for gold, but I'm thinking this fall when it starts cooling off, I may head back up there and do a little bottle digging. I would strongly suggest that you get the chance, go up in the high Sierras and just, it doesn't matter, just pick a creek and take a hike to it and do a little panning. If you find nothing, you're still going to have a great day. The beauty of that country, just, I can't describe it. That's all I got on this one. So I'm out of here. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.